Yo, what's up? My name is Petrowski, and today I wanted to make a video kind of talking about post-game goals in PokeMMO. So this video is going to be targeted towards players who are semi-new to the game, but have maybe finished their first region, or maybe finished a couple of regions, or maybe all regions, and now are asking themselves, what do I do in this game? What do I want to do? What do I move on to next? Like, all the storylines are done. What is there left to do in this game? Today I'm going to show you all of those options and kind of help you decide and understand what type of player you are and where to go from there. So let's have a lot of fun today and let's get into it. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to want to talk about is going to be PvP, and I know that is going to turn off a lot of people, but I want you to give it a chance and hear me out, because in my opinion, PokeMMO is the best Pokemon game to learn to get into competitive and get into PvP. PokeMMO has always been a game sort of engineered around PvP and sort of used to introduce players to it. Having the EV screen and IV screen shown in game so clearly and properly and clear cut from such an early stage of the game. The cartridge Pokemon games do not do that, or didn't do that for a very long time. And I think it's really nice to have that. Having that really does jump a lot of hurdles, and it makes sort of hidden quote-unquote information more known to the player, and it's more just upfront with what the game is all about. PokeMMO is also an MMO, and it's constantly being updated, so the devs do try really hard to implement a ton of things that do help new players get into the game, like random battles introduced recently is a really good way to break into competitive and kind of learn some move sets, some item sets, different Pokemon abilities, what they do, what Pokemon have things like water absorb or lightning rod, which can be really important to play around properly. The power, understanding the power of things like choice band or choice specs or choice scarf. If you haven't played random battles, I highly recommend it. But yeah, basically, don't be afraid to start building your own PvP team. I highly recommend finding your favorite Pokemon in the game, or a Pokemon that you really, really love, and finding what tier that Pokemon is in, and then building a Pokemon or a team in that tier around that Pokemon. I think that's the best way to get into competitive, is building a team around a Pokemon you love and finding a way to make it work. Can be really fun, really experimentative, and just really enjoyable, and a new way to kind of refound a love for Pokemon in a more complex way that you didn't have as a child. Building a competitive team requires a lot of things and kind of entails a ton of things, from making Pokémon to breeding to, you know, just learning how to play competitive. So there is a ton involved, and it is a tall order and like a big task. So I understand if that isn't for you, or if you just don't enjoy Pokemon competitive, or don't enjoy like ranked scenes, you're more of a casual player. I totally get that. I totally understand, and I encourage you to play however you want to play. Anyways, I'm going to be moving on to the second post-game goal that I recommend all players at least try out or give a chance. Alright, the second post-game goal is actually just going to be making money, making Pokemon, and acquiring wealth. This is something that people tend to love to do just in its own. Seeing that number in the top left corner of your screen rising is something that fascinates humans and kind of always has, and it can be really enjoyable. You can also use that money to help you with things with other post-game goals, like building a competitive team, or other post-game goals like shiny hunting, kind of having access to shiny charms, or having access to donator status, and being able to buy RP with in-game Pokemon, etc., etc. Having currency in any sort of situation, usually in this lifetime, is beneficial and helps you and just gives you a little more freedom. So it is important to at least develop some sort of starting capital, and I recommend every player at least try to earn around 1 to 2 mil. That's kind of my recommendation post game. Try to get around 2 mil Pokemon if possible, and that's a good starting point to kind of, you know, really bust into the game with. But there's a ton of ways you can make Pokemon. You can obviously do things like farming breeders, farming Pokemon, payday. Gym rebattles are a great way to do daily Pokemon earning. You could also always try your hand at flipping on the GTL. For those who don't know what that means, it's basically just buying something low and then selling it for a higher price. If you know anything about like stocks or anything about any sort of MMO economy, you'll be familiar with this. Me, coming from RuneScape personally, flipping is a very important thing on that game, and like buying shinies for a lower price, or buying certain Pokemon and flipping them, can be a really enjoyable activity for a lot of people, and a lot of people will just spend all of their in-game time on the global trade link, on the GTL, browsing it, making small flips, making big flips. And I think it can be really enjoyable for a lot of people, and it's something to at least consider if you're into that sort of market manipulation, or if you want to make investments or just feel powerful in that way. I think it's really fun, and everyone should maybe try it at least for, you know, a little bit. I think it's worth that at least test run. All right, and now on to my third post-game goal and tip for new players to at least try out, see their playstyle, is going to be shiny hunting. As you can see in the top right corner of my screen, I'm currently 18,485 encounters into a grind and into a hunt, which honestly isn't that many. For those who don't know, the shiny rate in PokeMMO is 1 out of 30,000, which makes a lot of things. It does a lot of things. First of all, it obviously makes the hunt way harder, and it makes it way more difficult and challenging and time consuming, but it also makes getting those shinies that much more rewarding. When you spend more time doing something as a human, usually the emotional output and the emotional kind of understanding and that reward and that dopamine payoff is that much greater. The more time you spend, the better it feels. That's like kind of a human, condition and a human crux, and it's something important to consider. But man, does hearing that shiny sound go off in PokeMMO feel incredible. A couple tips I recommend if you're going to be shiny hunting is making sure to use keybinds and bind things like Sweet Scent, Teleport, Fly, Lepa Berries, etc. to your hotkey bar. It's very important. Go ahead and download an encounter counter. Downloading an encounter counter and using an encounter counter while playing PokeMMO is one of the most, maybe the most important thing in my opinion about shiny hunting, because one of the biggest negatives of shiny hunting is that it can feel like a fruitless grind. And what I mean by that is there's no real progress being made in a shiny hunt until you get that shiny, or at least it feels like that. So it can be really important to be able to see that number go up and feel like you're making that progress. It really does make the world's difference. Let's say you shiny hunt for 10 hours and you leave with that day with no shiny, which is going to happen most of the time. It feels really bad if you just shiny hunt for 10 hours straight and get nothing. But if you shiny hunt for 10 hours straight, look up at your encounter counter and you're like, oh, I'm 10,000 encounters into this grind or into this hunt. That makes you feel like, oh, I'm 1/3 of the way there, kind of, not really, but kind of. And it's important to consider that and keep that as a mental check, and to help you stay focused on your grind and keep focused on your goal. I think encounter counters is just something I couldn't recommend enough, and it's so important to shiny hunters. Alright, but I think that covers everything for shiny hunting. If you have any more questions, I will be linking guides and posts in the descriptions below. I'll probably be trying to remember to link the encounter counter plugin on the forums, my shiny hunting guide, some competitive stuff, and some money making guides. So if you're interested in any of the tips or information or goals so far, make sure you check out the description for the correlating link. Alright, but my fourth tip and my fourth post-game goal recommendation for players is going to be participate in events. And what that kind of means is there's these things called PokeMMO official events in-game. They range from PvP events to catching events to scavenger hunts, which are kind of a different kind of catching event, but also things like writing contests and more obscure, niche, cool hobbied events that don't even necessarily involve PokeMMO. But I heavily recommend each player at least try a catching event once. It is in my opinion, one of the most fun things you can do in PokeMMO, and it is such an eye-opening experience about what makes this game special and what makes this game not just any other Pokemon game and what makes it an MMO. Having that kind of interaction, that kind of event with other players and with moderators and with that structured setup and event, it's so fun and it's so enjoyable, and it adds such a different element to just simply catching Pokemon. All you're doing in the event is catching Pokemon, but that added element of competition and socializing interaction really adds so much and creates such a beautiful experience, and I just couldn't recommend it enough. So go ahead and participate in some catching events. Check out my videos to see when catching events are happening and or coming out. Check out my video linked in the description how to prepare for catching events. You can also check out the forums to see when each catching event is happening or when new events are happening and when new events are planned. They will always link them on the PokeMMO official forums under PokeMMO official events. All right, but on to my fifth and final recommendation and a post-game goal for players is going to be customize your character. I think customizing your character is one of the most interesting parts of PokeMMO. It's a really beautiful way to show your personality, be funny, be serious, be edgy, you know, whatever you want to be, dude. It's a cool way to kind of spend some Pokeyen. It's also a good goal to, like, be able to gain Pokeyen to spend on vanities. There are some extremely expensive vanities and extremely expensive customization options in PokeMMO if you don't know. So a funny example that I always point to is the Holly hair clip. This item came out a very long time ago, and it's simply a little like Christmas themed hair clip in the game. I used to actually have 3 of this item back in the day, and I sold them for 100k each, because when they came out they were a laughed at vanity and they were considered like the worst vanity of the event. But nowadays they're worth around 53, 52, 55 million Pokeyen each. Pretty insane, pretty crazy. Vanity items really do have a place in this game, and there are a lot of players who really value them. A more recent example being the Golden Dragon Mask. This item must have came out in the last couple months, maybe 6 months or so, and it has really bumped up in price and continuously risen in price. There are a ton of just really expensive, really over-the-top, fancy vanity items to customize yourself with and to customize your characters with. You can check them out on the GTL. You can check them out in the gift shop. There's plenty of ways to customize your character. You can also go to the malls within Kanto and within Unova, and I believe there are some vanity items you can purchase there, at least some simple ones, and you can get teddy ears there, I believe. But yeah, it's really cool. Don't forget this. Don't underestimate this. If you've beaten the game, go ahead, you know, spend some of that Pokeyen you earned on some cool vanity items. Make your, you know, give yourself that cool drip, whatever you want to do. I think it's just it makes you feel happier to load into the game and see your character looking a little silly or looking happy or looking edgy or however you want it to look. I think it can really add to your happiness and add to your experience in PokeMMO. Okay, and I do have one honorable mention post-game goal to go alongside the outro of this video, and that is to be social. PokeMMO is an MMO, and that's one of the huge reasons which makes it so different from every other Pokemon game. Be social, join a team, run a team, interact with players. If you see people shiny hunting the same Pokemon as you, either talk to them in normal chat or try to give them a whisper and be like, "Hey, what's up? Like, how are you doing today? How many encounters do you have? What Pokemon are you shiny hunting? How's it going? How many OT shinies do you have? Etc. etc." Also, check out the forums and interact with people there. Make a forums account. You can post there to either try to find a team to join on the forums or check out events on the forums. Just be social. I just highly recommend it. I know it can be hard for a lot of people, but PokeMMO community is pretty nice and pretty kind overall. You're going to find some people in trade chat maybe trying to gyp you or lowball you or be a little annoying, etc., etc. But if you just find people out in the open world, I think it's a beautiful way to make some new friends and have some new experiences and have that fun social experience that Pokemon always could be and now can be with PokeMMO. But that wraps everything up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't. Leave comments, questions, concerns, and feedback in the comments below. Subscribe for more daily PokeMMO content. I'm currently uploading 2 videos a day involving PokeMMO. You can ring the bell, a little notification symbol next to the subscribe button as well to get notifications for every upload or just some uploads, whatever you can make that as you can choose. Go ahead and join the Discord linked below in the description below. There's a lot of cool people there. We answer questions for a lot of new players all the time, every day. Your questions should never get ignored there. You can also help us answer questions if you're a veteran player. We really appreciate it, and we welcome anyone who loves this game. Go ahead and check out that Discord. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you're having a great day. Peace and love from Petrowski.